students, I am Pooja Dubey and today we are going to discuss very important topic for Neet examination. Anyone can guess what is the topic? Exactly, the topic is this: sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Now the question is that why this chapter is very important. The reason behind, out of 45 questions from botany section, probably 2 or 3 questions must come from this chapter every year. So let's get start this chapter. So students, before we start the chapter, we need a small recap of the heading, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plant. So let us understand what is sexual reproduction. As we know that in sexual reproduction there is involvement of two opposite sexes. One is male and another one is female. They both fuse to produce a zygote and the zygote is converted into a new individual. The same thing happens in the plant also, but the case is different and the sex organ is different. So in this chapter we have to discuss what is the sex organ, what is the name of gamete they produce, what is the place where this gamete are produced, what is the name of gamete. So we will discuss all the topic in detail, but first of all we have to explain what is sexual reproduction. We can simply define sexual reproduction by 2F. What is the meaning of 2F? It means there is formation and fusion of gametes. It means there is formation and fusion of gametes to produce zygote, which give rise new individual. Okay, this is the definition of sexual reproduction. It means there is formation of gametes, and when these two gametes are produced, both are fused together, and after fusion they produce a zygote and the zygote is converted into a new individual. It means it developed into a new plant. But how this process is going on, this is not a very simple process that I explain in simple word. This is very complicated and we will go step by step. So student, after definition of sexual reproduction, now we have to know what is the sexual reproductive part in plant. The sexual reproductive part in plant is flower, and this is the first heading of the chapter, structure of flower. This is the diagram of a typical angiospermic flower. Now we have to discuss all the 4 parts step by step in very detail, and only this topic we have to clarify because this is the base of the chapter. So let's get start this. Now this is the structure of typical angiospermic flower. So we started from here, from the base. The basal portion, this is called stalk. Stalk is the part where the flower arises. Okay. Now next to stalk, that is thalamus. This is the basal swollen portion which I can explain by this. This shaded portion is called thalamus. This is swollen, and this thalamus is also called receptacles. Why? Because it receives all the 4 different parts of the flower. So we have to know the 4 important parts of the flower. What are this? We start with first, this is sepals. The first is sepals. This is the outermost roll of the flower. If I am using this artificial flower to explain the outermost portion, the sepals, so this outermost green portion, this outermost green roll is called sepals. Okay, means when the flower is in bud condition, this cover and this protect all the remaining 3 parts like petals, stamens and carpels, because when it is in bud condition, the petals is almost covered like this by the green sepals. Okay, so the main function of the sepal is to production. Now one more thing which I have to explain, the sepals is the name of unit. It means the collection of sepals are called calyx. Like, out of 4 important part of flower, the second part from the outside to inside is petals. Petals is very attractive in color, so it attract the pollinator towards the flower to pollinate. Mostly in cross pollination we will see it further, because it is not that much important. That's why the sepals and petals, they are not directly involved in the sexual reproduction, so it can be considered as non-essential role. It means they are indirectly involved in sexual reproduction but not directly. Here again I want to say that petals is the name of unit, but the collection of petals is called corolla. Due to their attractive colors, they attract the pollinator, which is helpful for cross pollination. Now we are moving towards our third important part of the flower, and the third important part is this, that is stem, and this is very important. And this stamen and the fourth part, carpel, these two are called essential role. Why they are called essential role? Because they are directly involved in the sexual reproduction. How? Let's see. Stamen is called the male reproductive part of flower. Stamen is called male reproductive part of flower. So, if this is the male reproductive part, definitely it will produce the male gamete. It will produce the male gamete. So, this is stamen and this is the male reproductive part of the flower. Okay, again I want to tell you one more thing, that stamen is the name of unit. Suppose in any flower, if 10 stamens are present, then all the 10 together is called androecium. But if I'm asking about the unit, that is stamen. The unit is stamen but the group is androecium. The unit is stamen but the group is androecium. So stamen are the male reproductive part of the flower. This stamen are divided into two parts. These are called anther lobe, and this stalk-like portion, this is called filament. This is called filament. Now, stamen is the male reproductive part of flower, and it is consist of two parts. One is anther lobe and another one is the filament. Now, the male gamete that is produced inside the anther lobe, which we will discuss in the chapter further. Now, we are moving to the fourth important part. That fourth important part is carpel, and this carpel is the female reproductive part of the flower. This is the female reproductive part of the flower, and the collection of carpel is called pistil. The collection of carpel is called pistil. Now, the carpel is made up of three parts. So, let me erase and we will discuss in detail about stamen and carpel. So student, here I am going to discuss the fourth important topic of the flower, that is carpel, and the carpel is made up of three different parts. This is the structure of carpel, which is made up of three different parts. The basal swollen portion, that is called ovary. Inside the ovary there is arrangement of ovules in different orientation, and that arrangement of ovule inside the ovary, that is called placentation. Already we had discussed in class 11, so I am not going to explain this here. Next to ovary, next to basal swollen portion, that is elongated neck-like portion, that is called style. Then there is another function in which the pollen tube germinate inside through this style. Next to style there is a broad sticky portion, that is called stigma. So the function is different and we will discuss next after this topic. Now, as we know that stamen and carpel is the most important part of flower, because these two are called essential role. Why they called it essential role? Because they are directly involved in the sexual reproduction. As we know, stamen is the male reproductive part of flower and carpel is called the female reproductive part of flower. And for sexual reproduction, as we know that only two different sexes are important. One is male and another one is female. So the I want to remind you the definition of sexual reproduction again, that there is formation of gamete, after formation that is fusion, and next to fusion there is formation of zygote, and the zygote is arises into a new organism. So in stamen, this is the male reproductive part inside. So the male gamete that is produced inside the stamen. So let's get understand where the male gamete is produced. When we see the structure of stamen is made up of two different parts. The upper lobe-like structure that is called anther lobe, and the basal elongated structure that is called filament. Now we'll leave filament as for now, because we have to understand that where the gamete is produced. To understand where the gamete is produced, we will take only this portion, anther lobe, and we will see the transverse section of this anther. Suppose if we cut the anther from here, and we will see the 3D structure of the anther lobe. Now this is the 3D structure of anther lobe. When you see inside this anther lobe, this butterfly like structure is appear. This butterfly structure is called microsporangium. This butterfly structure is called microsporangium, and this is very important, microsporangium, because the microspore is originated inside the microsporangium. Okay, now inside the microsporangium, all the fertile cell inside the microsporangium is called MMC. MMC stands for microspore mother cell. This microspore mother cell is converted into microspore tetrad. Here a process takes place, that is meiosis. And as I told you, this is only the flow chart. This is the overview that what we... Now let's see how the carpel is converted into embryo sac. As we know that carpel is made up of three parts: stigma, style and ovary. Inside the ovary, the ovule is present. There is a structure that is formed inside the ovule that is called megasporangium. The cell inside the megasporangium is converted into megaspore mother cell, and the megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis to produce megaspore. And after meiosis, the megaspore is converted into embryo sac. So this is the flow chart of the chapter that what we have to discuss in this chapter. So by this process we will understand how the two different gamete is produced. So this we will discuss under the heading pre-fertilization event. After that, once the two gametes are produced, the fertilization takes place, and after fertilization the zygote is formed. Then we will read after zygote, we will read in under the heading post-fertilization event. Hope you will understand the chapter. If any suggestion, please let me know through your comments. Thank you so much for watching. We will meet in the next video. Okay, bye bye.